Hi guys, welcome back. So sorry about no video last week. I've been extraordinarily busy. I've got some pretty cool stuff going on in the background. We'll talk about that a bit later on. However, we're back on the pellet testing again today. Now these are probably the cheapest pellet that I can find in the UK at the moment. A lot of you have suggested that I try these. Now these are the H&N Excite Econ2s. I've got 5 tins of these for less than 20 quid, which is frankly ridiculous. It's so cheap compared to everything else. They were £3.69 a tin. Having a quick pick through these, they actually look to be in really quite good order. There's no obvious deformities or anything like that. I also know a lot of guys that use these for short range pest control as well. So we're going to take these up to the farm today. We're going to test them in the wind. We're going to run some through the 9015, which at its bare bones is an Olympic type target rifle, which is primarily designed to shoot these flat-headed wad cutter pellets at 6 foot-pounds at 10 metres indoors. So of course we're going to be shooting them outside at 12 foot-pounds. We're going to push the ranges out a little bit as well. But the mad thing is these are almost a quarter the price of your average tin of QYSs now. So if we can get some sort of short range performance out of these that's even half decent, they're going to have to be worth a look at going forward. We're going to take the Katran as well. We're going to see if we can rattle some off through the magazines, see if we can do a bit of speed shooting, see if we can do some plinking with some spinners and just generally enjoy ourselves. Great cheap pellet to get into the sport as well. If you're teaching the kids or anything like that, if you need to be rattling off loads of shots, these got to be worth a try. So I'm really excited to get these down range. So I'm going to get everything set up and I will see you at the farm. Right, so we're at a whole 10 metres. I've actually had to back the magnification off on the Falcon scope to 8 times. I've got my parallax reduced to its absolute minimum, but I'm still a little bit blurry. So we should be all right though. I'm just going to aim for the centre of the card. I can't remember what we were shooting last time through this. It was H&N something or other. We was messing around with the barrel. But anyway, we need to make sure we're somewhere near 0. Okay, about 1.5 mil. We'll probably need to run a few of these off. So let's see how long it takes for them to come on. Now the last pellets we were using were H&N, so probably made from the same lead makeup, if we're lucky. Now of course these are a super budget one, so it's only fair to assume that they are made up of the cheapest lead and antimony mix that they can come up with. But when they're under £4 a tin, if they're accurate, it doesn't really matter. Now I know a lot of you are going to say, well, 10 metres is no real distance at all, and you are right. However, if you're plinking in your garden, pistol shooting, any of the standing disciplines, teaching the kids, and primarily pest controlling, you will be doing a lot of shooting around the 10 to 15 yard mark. Now there's a couple of spots on the other side where I do a fair bit of rat control, and most of that shooting is at 12 yards. Now we're at 10 metres, which is basically 11 yards. Them first 2 pellets are stacked right on top of each other. That would be pretty humane. Now these actually are quite a safe pellet. I haven't used this exact type of the Econ2s, but I have used these flatheads before for short range pest control, and because of the flat head, they dissipate all of that energy into your target very quickly, so chance of pass through and any ricochets coming back to you are greatly reduced. So if they prove to be accurate, these would definitely be worth a try for short range rat control. Pretty good. Right, let's just bring that up somewhere with 0. What have we got? Right, I've just given it 25 clicks, so that should be somewhere there or thereabouts. I just need to give it a couple more clicks, but we'll carry on with that and just stamp a little group there, hopefully. Right, that one felt marginally tighter. Right, so that one's gone in quite a lot easier, so there's obviously a bit of a variation in size, which again is to be expected with a budget pellet. I've mentioned it a lot, but on this rifle I'm loading directly into the rifling itself, so I can feel immediately if there's any variation in the size. However, the groups that we've got so far, certainly not too bad. Nice! Let's have a look at that, shall we? Well, you can't grumble at that. Each of these squares, they're 5.5 millimeters, so that is just under a centimetre across. We've got probably 8 mil of elevation change there, so considering these are pretty much the cheapest pellet you can get in the UK at the moment, that's actually pretty good. First couple went basically through the same hole there, so I'm really quite impressed so far. What I'm going to do is just run off a couple more groups just to see if anything changes once they lead in. Now of course the last pellets that we shot through that CZ barrel were H&M ones, but so far first impressions are very good. I'm also just about to get the Katran sorted out and we'll see how that performs in both single shot and multi-shot format. Right, second group then. That's got a bit smaller. They seem to be led into that barrel nicely. Now, there is a little bit of size variation that I can feel on loading, but at that sort of range, doesn't really seem to be making much of a difference. That's a lovely tight little group there. They seem to be hitting quite hard, so I'm pretty confident that we're going to do all right with the 9015. What we're going to do now, we're going to swap over to the Katran. We'll try that in single shot and multi-shot format and see how that goes. I think that's going to struggle a little bit loading these through the magazines. It's a bit pedantic at the best of times. It seems to prefer a dome-headed, harder pellet. Now, let's get that all set up and we'll give it a little go, shall we? Right then, little Katran's back out. So we're going to try this in single shot mode to start with through the single shot loader, and then we're going to swap over to the magazine. Now, I've already loaded up one of these magazines with these pellets. They seem to drop in there quite nicely. I'm not entirely sure how well these are going to transfer from the magazine into the barrel. This is a little bit pedantic at the best of times. It certainly seems to prefer a harder dome-headed pellet. Now, of course, these are quite hard, but being a flat head, I think we might get a bit of resistance going through the magazine and into the barrel itself. I hope not, because these, if they do cycle nicely, could prove to be a really good little pest control pellet, certainly inexpensive as well. So just going to get a few shots off at the middle of the card just to make sure we're somewhere there, make sure we're safe, and then we'll do some groups, eh? Oh. Certainly felt a little bit raunchy loading. Well, at least it's on the card. Some of them other budget comedy pellets we've had. Oh. Oh. There's a distinct jump as that's pushing it out of the single shot loader. I think I might have to get one of the old Darko single shot loaders for this, because both the factory mags and the single shot loader, they are not the smoothest things at all. I don't know if you can tell from there, but the whole idea of these with the flat heads is for stamping lovely clean holes in target cards. Even through my scope now, I can see that we've got much clearer, much nicer holes stamped in them cards than we would do with the traditional dome head. So they obviously are designed to do that for sort of competition scoring. They certainly seem to be stamping a lovely hole in the card. Ooh, first one that's skewed off a little bit. Opened up just a tiny little bit. Let's do another little group then. We'll go to the target just to the left of the one we've just shot. Right, so it looks like the group size that we're getting is sort of 2 pellets splat side by side. Now, of course, there is quite a bit of wind blowing. I'm quite high up on the bipod, a little bit wobbly, so had we been indoors in a more controlled environment, we could probably tighten these right up and stamp them all through the same hole. Okay, so the groups are not quite as tight with this. Let's go and have a look. Right, well, that's really not too bad. You can see that the second group I've shot has got marginally tighter than the first one, of course, probably just leading in slightly. Now, both the rifles have got CZ barrels in them. I'm pretty sure that this sort of slightly larger grouping is caused because of that slightly sketchy loading through the single shot loader and into the barrel itself. Of course, the Anschutz has the same brand of barrel in it, but we're loading directly to rifling, so there's far less chance of them pellets getting sort of misaligned, damaged or anything like that on the way in. But what we're going to do now is get the old magazine arrangement set up in the Katran, and we'll run off a couple of groups from the magazine directly. Okay, let's go on to that magazine then. Should we try and run off? We've got 18 shots in there. Should we see if we can run them all off in one go? That loaded nicer, that shot, than it did through the single shot loader. See if I can rattle these off with a bit of pace. Oh, that's the first one that felt a bit sketchy. Oh. Oh no! Oh, I might have misloaded that. Oh, we're done. Hang on, are we done? There's one left in there. Done a whole magazine. Quick, let's go and have a look at that. That's ridiculous. 18 shots rattled off really quick. That's still under a 5p. Now, of course, if you were taking a bit more time and care, I was whipping that cocking lever back and forward, so they were not being loaded gently. That's actually really quite good. I'm quite surprised. They actually loaded through the magazine better than they did the single shot loader. That's pretty encouraging. Like I say, perfectly humane, especially at these shorter ranges. These flathead pellets will dump their energy into your target very, very quickly. So very, very safe. And especially if you are shooting around farm buildings, farm machinery or anything like that, you've got far less chance of any pass-throughs and then any ricochets coming back towards you, which can really spoil your day. So I'm really quite happy with those at the moment. We're going to move the range back to our normal spot. We're going to be just under 25 yards, so basically doubling the distance, and we'll see whether they still group, shall we? Absolute turd. That bloody GoPro down range didn't catch that group. I whipped them off really quick. That's a good excuse to have another go, shall we? Not sure what you'll see in the edit, but I whipped off a group as quick as I could shoot them. Right, let's go again. That is brilliant fun. Let's go and have a look at that again. Did it get it? Absolute turd, it did. Right, so second time then. I've already done it the first time, rattled them off really quite quick, as fast as you've just seen. Same again, so we're getting a really quite nice tight little group. I mean, that's perfectly humane. The reality of it is you'd be taking far more sort of care with your loading. I was whipping that cocking lever back and forwards really quite quickly. Incredibly good fun, actually still quite accurate. It actually loads better through the magazine, strangely, than it does through the single shot loader. So maybe we can look at a calmer magazine or something like that. Might well improve things even more. So we're going to move the range back now to our normal spot, just under 25 yards. So basically doubling the distance. And we'll see whether or not we can still hold something of a group. So let's do it now. But got to be honest, at the moment, guys, these are looking really quite impressive, especially for this price. Granted, we're only at 10 whole meters at the moment, but if we can keep a group relatively similar to this at 25, I think we're on to a winner, really, especially considering the price. So let's go and move it all around. Right then, welcome back to our usual spot. Felt weird being down there a little bit. Right, 25, we'll up that to 10 mag. I have got, in the magazine here, I've got 10 pellets loaded into the magazine itself. So we'll do a couple of 5-shot groups. We'll take a little bit more care on loading these. See, when you take a bit of time, that loads actually really quite nicely, and the GoPro is on down the end. Not too shabby, considering that they're a wad cutter in the breeze. Let's go and have a look at those, shall we? Right, so we've got probably about a 20mm group. There's quite a bit of elevation change there. This one was a little bit scattered as well. Now, it is relatively gusty. We're using the magazine and we're sort of double the intended range. But, I mean, that would be perfect for plinking cans, any sort of hobby shooting, fun shooting where you're not taking yourself too seriously. That's still perfectly adequate. If they were a little bit tighter than that, in fact, they'd probably still be humane actually. They'd probably be covered by a £1 coin, which, to be honest, I wouldn't want to use them at that range for anything pest control wise, but obviously your results may differ. Right, 9015. Just adjusted my parallax distance. We're back up on 15 times magnification, so the same spec as we would be testing the majority of pellets down here. Not feeling incredibly comfortable today. We're going to run off a couple of groups, a couple of 5-shot groups again to the left hand side of the card. See how we get on. Then I'm going to go and bust some cans and get some spinners out. Our wind's really picking up as well, so we'll have to bear that in mind with the results. Right, top left. Right then, so Katran groups there on the right, there on the left. Now that was, them top and bottom one there was just making scope adjustments, but that's over an inch group. There's a fair bit of spread there on both of the 9015 groups. That one may just be covered by a £1 coin. The Katran groups, probably quite similar actually, the two of those to that one there. We'll measure these up properly when we get home. However, you can see that they're starting to become a little bit unstable at 25 yards. So if you're shooting out to maybe 15, 20 yards, you're probably going to find you've got some reasonably good groups. Going to be certainly perfectly humane, but I wouldn't really want to push them past that, especially when it's as gusty the wind as it is now. This is what it's all about. 15 paces. One. Oh, yeah. Did we get it? Unload your beast. Where's my point of impact? We were doing so well until we missed them all. I don't care what anyone says, we all get bent out of shape with all of our fancy gear. Just an afternoon plinking with some cheap pellets on some spinners, it's the best. I want to blow some cans up now. Such a child. Lidl's lemonade is absolute filth. Not fit for drinking, but when you've got budget pellets, we had a little bit left over in our video budget, so I thought, why not? We'll save a couple of those in a minute and we'll shoot them end on. See if we can blow them ones up, shall we? Made a big old hole. That one's got a third hole in there. Entry wound's blown out. You can see actually where it went in there. Like you can see it's folded the can back and exploded it, and then it's gone through the other side. Ooh. Absolutely obliterated those. I don't know where that pellet's gone. There's only one hole in the end of there. I don't know. Right. Let's do a couple end on, shall we? And we'll get out of it. Maybe if we shoot through the ring pull end, it might end up getting caught in there. Right, last ones, and then we'll get out of here. And go straight through the ring pull. Oh, that goes up a good one. Oh, I think that's gone clean through. That is fun. That's really cool. Look, we went straight through the ring pull end. It didn't come out the back. You can see that you've got an impact point there on the inside, but it didn't break back out the can. So this is what I was saying about the flat heads. They dump all of that energy. The JSB Heavy would have gone straight through there and out the back. You can see there's a nice dent on the back there, look, where it didn't make it through the actual pellets inside of there. Right, I'm going to get this lot tidied up and I'll see you at home. Well guys, I really enjoyed that actually. It was great fun, especially after the last few weeks of all the sort of fairly involved testing. That ended up being a bit of a pain in the backside. However, just running off some cheaper pellets today, plinking some spinners and things. I mean, we all probably do it, get a little bit bent out of shape in the quest for absolute accuracy, whereas just a good afternoon, plinking some cans and some spinners, it's really relaxing. It was great fun. And I'm just going to come out and say it, if you have a need for a shorter range pellet, if you're going to be shooting in your back garden at the reduced ranges, you're going to need to give these a try. For the price that they cost, they're so cheap. The performance actually is surprisingly good, especially at the shorter ranges. Now, no surprises, at the 10 metres, the 9015's actually put some really great little groups in. The battery's running out in the old calipers there, but 6.25 millimetres, so that's basically a 1/4 inch outside edge to outside edge group on a couple of those there. The Katran at 10 metres, not quite as tight. We're still looking probably, well, there, look, there's a 5p, so they're all in a 5p, no bother at all. But what was really surprising was rattling them groups off through the magazine. They actually loaded nicer through the magazine than the single shot loader. Now, had I spent a bit more time and been a little bit more careful with my loading, I'm sure these groups would have been tighter still. But look, it's full magazine through there. I ended up doing it twice. The GoPro, I'd forgot to put it on one of the 2 times. But the fact is that at 10 metres, look, we're well under a 5p there, so that's perfectly humane. Now, of course, as the ranges went out a little bit, 25 yards, you can see the groups have opened up a little bit. However, just under a 5p, well, pretty close. I mean, that's basically the absolute limit that I'd want to use for sort of pest controlling in any case. However, you bring that into 20 yards, I'm sure that they would be pretty good. Surprisingly, the 9015 at the slightly longer ranges, not quite as tight as the Katran there, considering they both currently got CZ barrels in them. Much shorter barrel in the Katran. This runs a higher regulated pressure than the 9015, so possibly something there. Just, you know what it's like, some guns prefer different pellets. It happens. However, when you consider that these are under £4 a tin, you really ought to give these a go. And they're certainly decent enough and going to be humane enough for safe and humane short range pest control. On account of the flat heads on these, you've got a far less chance of these going straight through what you're shooting at and coming back towards you. They dissipate that energy, they dump it into the target very quickly. And also, as you can see here, we've got much cleaner, nicer holes in your target cards, so you can get a better judge of your scores if you are scoring. But again, at that sort of money, really worth a try. So for you guys that hang around to the end, I'll show you what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks. Right, some of you are going to recognise these cards. These are indoor bench rest cards for rimfires. So I've spent the last couple of weeks, I'm joining a Firearms club. Now the plan is ultimately, once I've got all this sorted, done my probationary period, I'm going to build some mad high-powered air rifles. Now, I've not really shot a lot with rimfire stuff. It's been quite interesting. Did a bit with diopters. That's a lot harder than it looks. Again, I'm really quite a novice at this sort of stuff, so eventually the groups will get a little bit better. These were shot with an Anschutz with diopters. I shot a little CZ through a magazine. That one actually didn't fit me particularly well, so that was a bit of a struggle. But this was an old Anschutz match rifle. That was pretty good. Really quite a nice trigger on that one. Going to take a little while just to get the hang of it, but very different to anything I'm used to. Then second week, this was all shot with the CZ through the magazine, so pretty good. I was playing around with my trigger position, a bit like shooting a Springer really. Your trigger position and your grip and everything really will dictate how your groups go. So you can see here we've got a little bit of spread left to right, and we've got a bit of elevation change on these ones here. Now I was actually moving my trigger finger around, just working out how it all sort of works. So yeah, I'm really excited with this. The club has got some really good facilities, and once all the paperwork and everything's done, I've got this idea that I want to build a couple of really mad large caliber air rifles. So we're probably going to be looking somewhere in the region of rimfire power. So that's another little sideline that we've got on the go, as if I wasn't busy enough already. So an awful lot to do going forward. HN XI Econ 2's probably the best budget pellet for short range work you're going to find in the UK at the moment. So that'll do it, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.